Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry, I was caught up in another program, so I had to be a little bit late for this. Today, we're going to be listening to Professor Lee speak about Taiwan's foreign aid in Africa. As you probably are already aware, the continent of Africa is becoming more and more important in the light of the geopolitical events globally in recent times. Beyond the pandemic, there's a crisis in Europe, and also there's the issue of supply chain disruptions and the slowing down of the Chinese economy. Now, globally, people are looking for alternative avenues for investments, which is part of the reason we're seeing the move away from mainland China of so many aspects of manufacturing and supply chain relocation to other regions. So against this backdrop, I believe that this is going to be a very interesting topic. And without wasting further time, I want to invite Professor Lee to give us his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret, about your introduction. I am very delighted to share that the experience related to the Taiwan, the foreign aid in Africa. The outlines of my presentation to cover 5 major parts. The first one, the Taiwan as the foreign aid recipient country. Second one, the basis for the foreign aid work, what is the major work. The third one, strategies, goal, and the core operations, and the project status and the case sharing. The last one, the conclusion and the future perspective. In the first section, Taiwan as the foreign aid recipient country, the foreign aid, we can say is a total near about 400 years. Over the past, from the 17th century up to the World War II, during these 300 years, we give the term that the colonial power and the colonial legacy. That colonial country and now the colonial legacy one. Since the after World War II, it's become very systematically. We, from the in year 1947, have the Marshall Plan of the United States. So Marshall Plan, the very purpose for the reconstruction of a European country. There are 17 countries, including United Kingdom, Germany, France, Italy, etc. 17 receive this assistance come from the Marshall Plan. The Marshall Plan, they achieved or complete in 1951. That the funding source approved by the Parliament to give the 13 billion US. After that, also same to receive that the Parliament support increased to the 20 billion US dollar, and the area expansion from the European country expand to the Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean, also the African country. So the Taiwan could be the first beneficiary. After that, the Korea and Vietnam, and to African and Latin American one. So here that the just mentioned the Taiwan receive the recipient as the recipient country, and receive this assistance come from the United States between 1951 and 1965. They are divided into 3 major categories. One is financial assistance. Every year, the U.S. government disperses about the 100 million US the 15 years, total 1.5 billion US dollar. Second one, the material assistance. For instance, the wheat flour, corn flour, milk powder, protein, butter, up to here is better for daily life. Others also the server steel bars for the raw material of the infrastructure. The third one, capacity building, is also divided, come from the two major sources. The first one, conduct the training program here in Taiwan. In other words, U.S. government will dispatch the experts come to Taiwan face to face to give the training for the Taiwan, the people, the very purpose to cultivate the quality manpower. On the other hand, scholarship. Based on this scholarship, at that time, many Taiwanese young generation have this opportunity to study in U.S. I just copy such kind of idea. Now have to initiate this project, scholarship project since 1998 to invite that the developing country come to Taiwan for the further study. So these three kind of that assistance, they have the contribution. Also, the first one, control the inflation rate. This is inflation rate. Now the inflation rate since 1950 up to the year 2000, the average 3% only. So it's to keep that stable economic condition for Taiwan. Second one, the accumulate capital. Use that the 1.5 billion US dollars set up the Sino-American Development Fund. This is a fund from the earlier for the agricultural development. The mediums for the light industry. This after the 1980s is moved to the IT technology. For instance, the Taiwan semiconductor company is also receive this funding source. Is the major of that the sector in Taiwan. The total IT is take about GDP contribution more than 35%. Also the next one, the established SME. SME, do you know what's the full name of the SME? Yes. Right, totally right. Small and medium enterprises. Is the backbone for Taiwan. Since that times and up to now, the total about 1.33 SME the enterprises is take about 96.5% of that the enterprises. In other words, the largest scale of enterprises, the 3.5% only. Most of that the SME for Taiwan is also create the job opportunity about 78.5% of the job opportunity. So it's quite important for the economic development. Even nowadays, still quite rely on the SME development. So this figure can show you, this 1.546. These are the promise come from the U.S. government, but the real disbursement, 482 is a real disbursement. Here's a 1.482. That the money, billion money is 70% for economic aid and 26% for agricultural development. At that time, for instance, the asparagus, mushrooms, even the sugar, including is for the agricultural product exportation. So 70% plus 26%, equal to 96%. Remaining 4% is a 4%, for the loan base, give the loan. This loan total is 65 million US dollar. Is cover 12 projects. For instance, the Asian Servant Corporation in Hualien, and the cement dams. Now is the tourism site in Taoyuan area, cement dams. The Land Bank of the Taiwan, also the pioneer chemical demand, also have the railways expansion project, as well as the thermal power plant in southern Taiwan. It covers 3 projects, total 12. Now, all of this, the loan Taiwan has repaid the money already. On the other hand, apart from the USA, but also come from Japan, come from Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia now have one bridge still located in central part of Taiwan. That's the name, Chinese name, Zhongsha Daqiao. Sino, the Arabic bridge. That's also come from the international multilateral organization. For instance, the WHO, World Bank, as well as the ADB. ADB is the Asian Development Bank. So all that's the donation, is very concentrated on the infrastructure projects. For instance, railroads, highways, electricity, communication, telecommunication, water supply, international airport, seaport, central bank, medical and public health services, including that wipe out malarias in 1955 to 64, I just mentioned. Also have north-south freeways. Now is the freeway, the number 1 freeway. Now have the hurricane up to 10 of the freeways in Taiwan. But they really to give the significant contribution for the Taiwan development one. So from this, the diagrams to give the timelines. These are timelines between 1950 and 1960. During these 10 years, the Taiwan is a total 100% serve as the recipient country. Between 1960 and 1980, during these 20 years, we have 2 heads. One is a recipient, the other one is the donor agency. After 1980, same 100% as the donor agency. Before 1980, have from USA, from WHO, from Japan, 190, from Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, 170, ADB 96 million. The other one, IDA, the IDS International Development Association, now is one of the organ under the World Bank group. This group and this IDA is to give the assistance for the very extreme poor country. Others have the World Bank, the IBRD, for the regular loan for the developing world. So IDA and IBRD is the 2 major organizations. The other IFC, also MIGA, totally 5 the sister organization under the World Bank group. The total of the World Bank to give the assistance to Taiwan, total 14 billion. I just mentioned all the money Taiwan is a return already. So in other words, after 1980, 100% as the donor agency. Based on this the background, I move to the second. Use this the U.S. Assistance money plus the government central government budget. So we help the other developing countries since 1959. Later I will give you the history. Here that the also the law and regulation compliance. The Constitution Article 141. There are four major points. The number three is related to the international cooperation. So this is the institution. Second one, in terms of the organization institution. In 1996, the ICDF formally established based on that the executive, the latest UN in 1995. So set up the Taiwan ICDF. Second, in year 2009, have the white paper. The white paper is published from the ICDF assistant to have the proposed that the draft, have the white paper on the foreign aid policy. These are also the first publication related to the foreign aid policy. Next year, 2010, also have the passed by the legislation UN for the international cooperation development law. It's quite highly encouraged by OECD. They are first about that the foreign aid law. Can you figure out which country, formulate that the foreign aid law? Which country the first time to show up in the international community? Any idea? Simple answer that. United States, 1961. And the Swiss government in 1970. United Kingdom, 2003. After that, the OECD member country, they under the encourage to formulate that the foreign aid law is have a take responsibility to the apart from the parliament member, but also the public people, very important. So that's the general strategy about the Taiwan foreign aid. Taiwan can provide the technology, financial services, as well as the human capital development. Use these three major pillars for respond to the partner needs based on the local need. Second, drawing on Taiwan competitive advantage. We are to review what kind of the competitive advantage from Taiwan that I will introduce for you. Next, strengthen the cooperative partnership. The number four, integrate public-private sector resources. That's the general strategy. Here, these are the history. Is can divide into three colors. The first one, that the red color from 1959, is the first mission to Vietnam. Is for the short term for agricultural consultation. In 1960, we have the Operation Vanguard, formulated by the Taiwanese government. Based on this Operation Vanguard, we send the agricultural technical team to African countries. The first mission dispatched in the October 1961 in Liberia. From Liberia, the second one in the November have a Doger. In December have a Dahomey. After that have the additional 9 countries join this the Operation Vanguard. So the Taiwanese government decided to set up the Sino-African Technical Cooperation Committee, or SATCC, in charge of the African Technical Cooperation program or project in 1962. Following in 1963, that the cooperating country from African country expand to the Latin American, that Dominican Republic is the first beneficiary. Under this connection is the additional come from the Asia, also the Pacific, as well as the other Latin American countries. So I have to rename from SATCC into CITC. CIT is the Committee of International Technical Cooperation. These are under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs supervision. The other one is the orange color. Is under the Ministry of Economic Affairs to set up the new organization, International Economic Cooperation Development Fund, or IECDF, in year 1989. The IECDF merged with CITC, set up the Taiwan ICDF in 1996. We have mentioned that the history. Now here that they are founded, when we talk about the ICDF, ICDF is the functional character, very like the USA or JICA, JICA, Japanese. In Korea have the KOICA. In Taiwan have a Taiwan ICDF, the functional character. So when mentioned about that, the International Cooperation and Development Fund, this fund originally have in 1996 have a 12.4 billion NTD, is equal to 400 million US dollars. Over the past 24 years operation, they also the cumulative earning and that the interest about 3.2 billion NTD. The total now the current of that the net of the fund source is 15.7 billion, almost equal to 500 million US dollar for that the only this fund. These are the major source. On the other hand, is come from that the first one come from MOFA, Commission Project Fund, the central government fund budget is to provide that the government budget for the disperse about the technical mission in overseas country, also to disperse about the Taiwan youth, the overseas services for young generation that I will introduce for you, and some scholarship over my from the MOFA, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In terms of the Taiwan ICDF fund, they also have the 32 just mentioned interest. This interest is for the volunteer dispersed, as well as some part about that scholarship for the student come from developing world. Also, that the funding source come from the partner country co-funding. This is co-funding. Our major purpose to ask the cooperating country still have the invest some money into the project. Is a theory take into account the ownership or the localization. After take over everything is for take into the sustainability one. That the here have the bilateral, also the research international organization and other multilateral international organization. Further I will to give more one. Now the third section, when talk about the strategies, goal, and cooperation, is well based on that vision and the mission. Strategies and the performance result is come from, for instance, that the loan here to mention lending and investment. Lending is the loan project. After that, the technical cooperation, technical assistance projects, and international education and training, specialized training as well as scholarship, and the humanitarian assistance in recent years because of the nature and the people-made disaster. So the humanitarian assistance to help that the needy country, is very important. So let's under this one also have the operational, the effectiveness and the organization efficiency. That's the pyramid of that one. So we mentioned that the comparative advantage of Taiwan. We select 6 sectors. The first one, agriculture and agribusiness. I tell that the story since the 1960s, the Operation Vanguard, still from the starting of the agriculture sector. After that, it expand to environment, public health and medicine, education, IC information communication technology, as well as the SME. So these are 6 part of that the comparative advantage. Now, in terms of the global trend, the very focus on the sustainable development goal is from since the 2016, the expired date, the 2030. So we say that the SDG 2030 or Agenda 2030 is a cover 17 goal, 169 targets, and 230 indicators. I always to ask you remember that the key word, the first one, the non-poverty, second one, zero hunger, the third one, the health and well-being, the goal number 4, quality education, number 5, gender equality, number 6, the water sanitation, the 7 is the affordable green energy, the number 8, decent work and economic growth, number 9, industrial innovation, also the infrastructure, number 10, reduce inequality, 11, city community, 12, the sustainable consumption in the production, 13, the climate action, particularly the climate change, the 14, under the water, 15, on the land, the 16, for peace, justice, institution. That's one, the global partnership. So to remain every day we will to touch with the SDG, including the all global society, country, international organization, even the NGO and INGO to join such kind of work. So that's a regional strategy and a goal and the core, the operation by the Taiwan Foreign Aid. So based on that is 17 about the SDG goal. That's from 2, 3, 4, 8, and 17 is the common same. That's the same common goal for that the global one. But if have the, for instance, in American region, have the additional the goal 9, 12, 13, and 15. If India, Central, in African country, apart from the common 5 goal, plus 5, 6, 9, and 11. India, Asia, and Pacific, apart from these 5 common, plus the additional 7, 11, 14, and 15. So this the based on the SDG Operation India regional group one. Now that the cooperative map, this map is based on previous mentioned, this is the bilateral diplomatic airlines 15. Also here for the multilateral international organization, for instance, the EBRD, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, I mentioned several times, ADB, Asian Development Bank, IDB, Inter-American Development Bank, CABE in the Central Bank, Central American Bank for Economic and Integration. That's the OISA or OAS organization or American state. On the other one have that the research international institution. For instance, the ARO is the African Asians, the Rural Development Organization, headquartered located in India. Also have a IRI, that International Rights Research Institute. We have more than 8 years of the cooperation relationship with the rights research project. Also the SEAT, the SEAT located in Colombia. SEAT, the SEAT is also focus on the tropic agriculture. Not only this one, also have an NGO and an international NGO, for instance, the CARE, International Mercy Corps. Also the Action Against Hunger, World Vision International. So the particularly recent year have the many humanitarian assistance projects will collaborate with the NGO or INGO. Here is the slide to show you, according to the OECD statistic, every year to implement that SDG is a cost about 3.3 to 4.5 trillion USD. But that the ODA come from the OECD DAC member country. DAC is a Development Assistance Committee. Previously, I give you the explanation. That there are 200 committees. The DAC is one of these committee in charge of the foreign aid. It's a total about 147 billions. In other words, the 3.6% only. But this the ODA from that rich country contribution still very stable. This is stable about the funding source. It serves as the catalyst to attract the more funding source into that SDG implementation. For instance, it will attract private sector. Also the civil society organization, that the NGO, NPO to join this one. So from this, the figure just mentioned, partner country bilateral system, international NGO, regional development bank, the ADB, IDB, EBRD, that's academic research institution, IRI, also the research, private sector, health provider, particularly that the hospital, or the public health and the medical research institution. One. Okay, the project status about case sharing. Before that, I will give you that the rules of game for the Taiwan foreign aid, the projects based on this project cycle. The project cycle is divided into 7 steps. From 1 to 3, identification, preparation, and appraisal is called that the design stage, design for. After that, the identify this project is feasible or not. Prepare many documents related to the new project. Not only this one, we'll prepare that the main programs. After that, the only site, only location assessment is the meaning that the appraisal. Based on this appraisal, will be proposed the project proposal, submit to the board meeting for approval. When this board meeting approves this project, and that will have the budget allocation. Also give the mandate to sign the agreement with the partner country, sign agreement. Based on these agreements, move into the number 5 is the implementation. Implementation take the longer time. For instance, these are the 5 years of a technical cooperation project. This implementation could be take about 4.5 years. So this will take the long times for that the project cycle. When that's the last year of the implementation is moving into the project completion. So the completion and the now this project complete already. The next before 3 months have prepared the completion report. Same, is will submit for the board meeting for approval. After that, also have the post-evaluation. The post-evaluation is the very critical part. Each of our projects will through the evaluation can decide if the project is successful or not, successful or unsuccessful. If successful is will took as the best practice. If the unsuccessful still have as the lesson learned. So the such kind of experience very precious. So also based on this lesson learned, the very purpose still try to reduce that the unsuccessful project to the minimum, to the minimum level. So this project cycle very important. For instance, every year Taiwan have the more than 100 projects, 128 projects is based on the project cycle. That the project cycle, implementation phase, in other words, move to the, that the implementation one, 79 is the finish that the agreement signature. 2 projects under approval. The other 47, the still situate in the preparation and appraisal phase. That the average of the every year have 120 or 30 projects for based on that the project cycle. Following, I will to give the example. That is based on the previous the operation. I take some example for your reference. The first one, the agriculture and agribusiness. Here that the dollar reclamation scheme in Guinea-Bissau. Dollar originals is the very poor skill for the rice plantation. Later on I give the more one. The second one, the Bagre irrigation scheme in Burkina Faso. that the previous. Now, in terms of the ongoing, I also select 2 projects for your reference. One is a full vegetable product quality improvement project in Somaliland, the east and the north area of Somalia. Also have the Swatini, have that agriculture project. Now it's the 1 by 1. In Guinea-Bissau, between 1990 and 1998, in Dala region, to improve this farmer income. In other words, to give that the skill or technology, including that the seed and the seedling propagation for local people. This the like that the picture show you. Each time when I visit the Dala irrigation scheme, the local people will dance or sing a song to welcome me, and more than 500 or 1,000 the local farmer, including the 70 years old farmer or only 3 years old children, still have to shake hand with all of the people. Maybe it's smell not so good, but the result feel very satisfied. Even 1,000 I have to shake 1 by 1. Maybe I could show you the picture related to the Dala irrigation. Same thing here. I show that the Sen Song Wu. Sen Song Wu is the key person for set up this the Dala irrigation scheme. They have the couple. He carry his wife to join together. His wife will to take care of the local people have a baby or something else, to give that the technical support for the local farmer, so the local farmer to have a good memory. One of village is that the village Wu. Village Wu is a can representative. Is a very successful project in Dala. Second one in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso 1995 and the year 2018. When they restored that diplomatic relation in 1994, I organized one assessment mission to Burkina Faso. When I visit the Gu River village area, that area is near the second city of Burkina Faso. Is name is the Bobo Dioulasso. Bobo Dioulasso, have the Gu River. The total acreage that the Gu River have 1,260 hectares. I find out that the irrigation canal is still exist, and they operate by local people. The local people even can have the seed and the seedling propagation is by themselves. When I make the comparison with the neighboring village, these are the Gu River village people. They have the good nutrition. Also have a good government compared to surrounding. So in other words, their income increase even since 1967 up to the 1994, more than 35 years, but that project still exists. So the government of Burkina Faso would like to expand the appreciation of Taiwan. So when I return to the Burkina Faso, the minister of Burkina Faso asked me to develop one project very similar to the Gu River. So under this connection, I make an assessment to decide have a new project in the Bagre, B-A-G-I, this is the French Bagre region. The Bagre Dam reservoir, that reservoir have the plenty of the water, even that the 20 times of a cement dam. That in other words is the huge scale of the water dams for is suitable for irrigation. From my my experience, such kind of that the variant about that the irrigation scheme is can suitable to grow about the 100,000 hectares. Even in Taiwan, in Thailand or Jiayi, cannot to compete this region. So the since 1995, we have that the first mission to the Bagre region. So these are the GIS. Here is a GIS. GIS here can cover, the more than 10,000 hectares the rice field. According to the UN, FAO, they have a satellite. Original, one time when I have make the presentation in OECD, the officer come from FAO officer come to me, I know you do very significant work successful in Bagre because previous is only desert, but now all is the green scenery. Is from desert to green scenery could be the miracle in African region. Now the Bagre, even we cut the tie, 2018. This region I still have many people to keep communication. I know that the progress every day about the Bagre irrigation scheme. So each time, same in the Guinea-Bissau, also the condition. This the mission leader. At that time, here this the picture is 2000. 2000. I visit this Bagre more than 20 times because it's also one of my baby. So I visit very frequent. Each time, same this condition. There are more than 500, 1,000, 2,000 people to line up. I have to, shake hand with everybody one by one to finish. I still feel very good impression. It's touched my heart. Touched my heart. I give this story in year 2002. The Johannesburg, the World Summit, the UN summit, to have the from the French TV5, have the report related to the Bagre and Go River. They say that the model or window about the sustainable development. I cannot to say, otherwise you will cry. Yeah. Okay, pass. The next one, the Somaliland. Somaliland, they have a fruit and vegetable product quality improvement is still ongoing. I also the organize one assessment mission to Somaliland in year 2020, the early about the February and March to visit the Somaliland. I decide to have 3 projects: agriculture, ICT, and the healthcare project. At that time, the president of Somaliland told me when before you arrive here, the Somalia president to ask the president of Somalia to discuss what's going on. You invite the Taiwan delegation to Somaliland. That the president told me, I don't care. I don't care about China. My relationship friendship, only Taiwan. I don't care China. So even that the Somalia will give the high pressure staff by coming to the Somalia, but they refuse. He refused that. So when I arrived to the Somalia, the Somaliland, when after 2 days, the foreign minister visit Taiwan and sign, that the formal diplomatic relations agreements with our minister, Wu. Minister also, come from our institute, this institute, the minister Wu. So signed this, so they formally set up the Somalia. So after Somalia, we also have others now still ongoing. Later on, I will introduce for you. That the vegetable and fruit for the Somaliland is the most of that the fruit vegetables come from Ethiopia. And every year is have the 576 tons. The import come from Ethiopia. So to engage in this project, the very purpose to help to the Somaliland to reduce the importation from the Ethiopia. This is my major purpose. The next one, that the Eswatini. The Eswatini have the agriculture, that the agriculture, between 21 and 25. We have a classmate from the Eswatini. It's a landlocked country. The local people very loyal to eat fish. So they don't have the idea related to the fish or even the fishery and agriculture. But we help for the tilapia. Why select this tilapia? Tilapia is the tropic fish species. It grow very fast. Even that's the one harvest less than 9 months. But that the use catch aquaculture. We call that name the aquaculture intensification. It's an intensification. Previously catch only raised about 500, but they use the aquaculture, that the biosecurity, the approach is can raise 5,000, 10 times. So some people will be impossible. I say possible, because use that the bioecosystem, the result that the disease is something else. That the new technology of the bio security, also the that the ecosystem of the aquaculture approach. The second part in terms of the ICT. This ICT is quite important. Here is a picture. It's also 2001, but the previous same, the Ministry about the Science and Technology. We also have the same. That's the picture when the first year, 2020, to show that the cooperation I decide to give that the e-government project. The e-government, the very purpose still to increase the government efficiency, also government capability for the e-government project. Same the next the e-government in the Somaliland, so that the is one of that the country development. So when take advantage, I will also give that the book, also the one related that information. So the minister feel very happy to get that the information related to the e-government. E-government for Taiwan, we have the comparative advantage. We ever is a ranking #1 for many years about e-government. I take example in the income tax. Income tax now we use that the so that the website is a can for the income tax. But many countries, even from USA, when for that the income is a couple 10 page. 10 page. So they are very inefficient. So that I think that a comparative advantage for Taiwan to recommend this the e-government project. Now next one, the third one, the public health and the medicine. That the health personnel training program. Also have the health information system, HIS. Here is also Somalia and Eswatini, as well as the Paraguay, but Paraguay is in Latin America, so I delete already. Still focus on these three. The public health and the medical care is the in African country still very important one. I think in the future, the healthcare not only in Africa, but for the developed and developing country, the healthcare will be to us the top priority for health sector. So it become important year by year. In Africa, no exception. No exception. So that's why we will still to provide such kind of the public health and the medical services. We are engaged in the public health from the early in African region. Have a medical service team or medical service mission. The first mission dispersed in 1962 in Libya. 2000 when I visit the Libya. Do you know that at that time the president, what is the name of that president in Libya? He's a very charming Gaddafi. Gaddafi is a very special people. His hair can cover 4 or 5 different colors: blue, green, yellow, or something, or pink. Different of a color. They bring, the sunglass, big one, but have the special color. Some have the blue color or the purple color. But the very aggressive or very active. So I have this one, still have a very confidential story. I cannot to tell this story because it's still the confidential condition. Sorry, next time if the possible. It's from Libya. It's went to the Liberia, Burkina Faso, the Guinea-Bissau, Central African Republic, Burkina Faso, Chad, Malawi, San Tome, and Principe, and Eswatini, and so on. So healthcare personnel training program. This program is the on-the-job training program. We sign that the strategic alliance with the 35 hospital and 2 university. So that the participants come from our diplomat, also the cooperating country, friendly country, every year near about 50 or 60. Is well dispersed to the different hospital based on his or her background. After completing about the 2 or 3 months training program, I also will issue the certification for the participants. It's very useful when they back their home country, have that the certification like this one, have the professional skill is to the positive for his functional work inside the hospital. So saying that the HIS originally come from Paraguay. I put on that the Paraguay. Paraguay, take example in Latin America, South America. I take the Paraguay HIS. This is operated by the technical mission about the HIS, the program. That HIS, I take example when the one patient enter the hospital through the registration, after have the medical consultation, pharmacy, and leave this hospital, take about 210 minutes. 210 minutes, almost 3 hours in general. But at that time, it's all handmade, really handmade. Is the artificial, also by the people to do that work. Saying that when, for instance, 6 months ago, when one patient entered this hospital, after 6 months, because of no record, so no one knows what happened 10 months ago, what happened for this patient, because no record. But based on this HIS, the everything is put on record. So even nowadays he come to the hospital again, based on that the record can know what's going on before for this patient. So from 210 minutes reduced only 70 minutes. It's 1 hour, 10 minutes. Very efficient. So now have many countries to use the system for the HIS system. Is the digitalization, the digitalization part. The Swatini, we have the maternal and infant health care. This is based on that the SDG goal number 3. This number 3, have very pay attention to this part, because the death rate in some countries is very high, including that maternal and infant health, and that death rate. That, in other words, this project to reduce this death rate. We collaborate with the Jiayi Christian Hospital, also Hualien, Chiji Hospital collaboration. That's the nowadays, because the programs is a project. For the maternal, before that, 387 per 100,000 people, now reduced less than 120. In terms of the infants previous 1,000, same like the 1 billion 1,000, but now is reduced less than 250. So that I think is to reduce that the death rate is a very significant. In terms of that the education, seminar, workshop, also international higher education, is the also the vocation, technical and vocational training, as well as the overseas profession Mandarin. Here that the seminar and a workshop, this workshop conduct here in Taiwan is a short term, about 2 weeks, for including that the class session, field trip, as well as the business dialogue. The same is the on-the-job training program. Second one, my baby, since 1998, have that the international higher education. this higher education, since 19 from one university, one program, now have increased to the 22 university, 37 programs, beneficiary, 2,600. In other words, I have the one president, 7 ministers, also the other government agency, also the private sector leader, as well as the representative of international organization, many. So this is the long-term work and not to stop. This professional workshop is based on competitive advantage of the Taiwan. Just covers 6 agriculture, business, public health, environment, ICT. Previously mentioned that. The professional workshop, just mentioned, 2 weeks. Also the cross session, partner, also business forum. Since 1997, have conducted 380 workshops, and the participants more than 8,500. Now the participants come from government officers, from academia, in other words, the researcher, also the industry, private enterprises, also the international organization. So that the and here mentioned that the higher education scholarship, just mentioned the 4 scholarship. What the meaning about the 4 scholarship, including tuition fee, also the monthly allowance, air flight, housing, is a whole scholarship. That the 37 covers 3 PhD, 25 master, 9 bachelor degree. They are divided into 5 major fields: agriculture, fishery, public health, medicine, business management, engineering, science, and the human resource development. So this the higher education scholarship, 1900 up to now, 2,600, including this year is a total 2,800 these participants. So those that the next one, the third one, technical and vocational training. These are training, for instance, in Swatini, there is a cover 509 hours for the training. Is also give this opportunity to get the C-level certification. Is a for to the startup business, also even the job opportunity, still very significant for this program. The other one is the overseas professional Mandarin teaching project. Nowadays too, that the Mandarin market potential increase year by year. So all that the country will ask, Taiwan can disperse. These are the professional Mandarin teacher to give services in the overseas country. Here that the vocational training projects, since 2014, in African, have they can up to the 300 average. That's the Mandarin have, since the 2005 up to now, have that the teacher, professional teacher, they have the good performance. They even to keep up with the good, relation with the local people. So the humanitarian assistance, just mentioned recently, because the climate change, the nature and the man-made disaster, they happen around the world. The nature disaster, earthquake, typhoon, tsunami, even that the hurricane, particularly the hurricane in the Latin American and Caribbean country. In Asia, we call typhoon, but that quite very similar. Also the earthquake, people say, but it could be more or less have a relation with the climate change. So that the IDP and returning over the host community in the South Sudan for humanitarian assistance. Just independence later on give that the Libya have the chicken free to ensure the food security. Also the Kenya, that Kenya in the drought relief of that the humanitarian assistance. For instance, that they are in South Sudan. South Sudan is an internal displaced people, that the give that the assistance, that the, in other words, that rescue plans for the local people. When the independent of South Sudan is a very poor, even to have a big trace by the Sudan for that the very inequality give that the equality for the South Sudan. So we give such kind of that the assistance, trying to these are resilience for the community, particularly for the vulnerable people, the poor people. In the Libya, that the Libya have the collab with the Mercy Corps for the chicken feed supply, is for the agriculture activity is a very difficult to get that the chicken feed for the raising chicken, so to provide that the chicken feed for the local about the raising of the chicken. The other one have the Kenya. Kenya is the for the livestock. But this livestock in Kenya, the water shortage very severely. In the livestock part, maybe it's the in the look like the drought area, also the arid or semi-arid area. But tell the truth, for the livestock, still have asked for many water supply. So under this connection, we will to dig the well and set up that the the water supply system in the Kenya for that humanitarian assistance. The category 7 about the volunteer. The volunteer, Taiwan initiated this volunteer since 1996. As a tool then come from the Peace Corps of USA, or JOCV come from Japan. Based on that the idea, it was some even from the Germany for this the volunteer. The volunteer to give service in the overseas country, they no need to pay, but the sacrifice time, even the money, to engage in that the very meaningful work. So here that the activity in overseas country of that the volunteer, for instance, here these are for the computer science, that the humanitarian of a rural development, same for the culture, as well as others art, and so on. So that the volunteer, have since 1996, have more than 800 volunteers joined us. The volunteer programs is divided into one is the long term, the other one is a project volunteer, but the meaning of a long term is regular. We have recruit 2 times every year. One is the spring, between January or February. The other one is summer or autumn. For project volunteer is meaning is based on that the humanitarian assistance project, and to send disperse the volunteer to join the humanitarian work. So in other words, the less than 1 year, maybe as to 3 months or 6 months, so that the area all country in the African is only Eswatini, but the Somaliland will increase next year, will to join us. Okay, that the qualification is only Taiwanese people, no foreigner, only Taiwanese people, more than 20 years old, have a graduate. After that, they great degrees. They have some relevant work experience. Much welcome for this one. And the male or female, no limitation of the age. We also have the volunteer can up to the 70 years old. That's a great help on that the very senior volunteer one. So the volunteer, they work services, agriculture, public health, education, information technology, as well as the environment and others. For the career development for the volunteer, is when finished, complete their service in overseas country, come back Taiwan, they will the further of the career development. Some people will select return to the original career field. Some people will further education to join the master or PhD program. Also, some people will work other NGO, international NGO or local NGO. Some people engage in diplomatic system, foreign aid. Diplomat is as the staff of Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Some people will stay or join in Taiwan ICDF to have the career development. Next one, Taiwan Youth Overseas Services. These services is they focus on the young generation in Taiwan. When the young people graduate from the senior high school, college, or even higher, thus they have the obligation for military services. Nowadays, only 4 months, but still have the military services. Previous my age, the Professor Chen, we are same age. At that times, some people 2 years military services, some people 3 years, compared to quite different. But anyway, it's a military services. But the Taiwan, particularly from IGDF, have thus the opportunity to develop this the Taiwan Youth Overseas Services. Take example, when one graduate student from the National Yanming University, take example, is a medical doctor. To join our medical service mission, they have the triple benefit. One for the expertise, still keep that the medical services. Second one, language learning, Spanish, French, English. It could be have this opportunity. Thus, but the most important that the global vision. Take advantage of the overseas services. They could be have the many occasions that interact with the international people. So from that one, for that the global vision, that is the triple of the benefit for the young generation. Here there's an activity of the Taiwan Youth, the overseas services, livestock, horticulture, the technical education, culture, language, and so on. So that's the responsibility, experience, obligation, practice, dedication, also the achievement. Not only this one, the number 10, we also have the deep root programs. Collab with the Taiwanese University to give the opportunity to the overseas country to join the internship. Internship. This is internship from the grade 3, 4 about the under program up to the graduate institute from the first year and the second year. When they go outside about internship, 6 months, they can get the 9 credit. They also have the other benefit when for the young boy, they have a more automatically as the Taiwanese overseas services member. No need to throw competition with the others. No need. Just more automatic as the Taiwanese overseas services member. For the girl, they also, we will give the additional 8 months of that quite the professional training. To finish that, it will be as the full-time staff of the mission member. But the mission member, salary is can up to more than 5,000 USD per month. 6,000 depend on when serving in the African region is can up to the 6,000 or 7,000 salary per month. So that for young generation, I think is the good opportunity for this one. So that the internship, in other words, that the industry, academia collaboration, the internship is the same. My baby, I will ask the first, about the 8, the internship student, they come from NPUSD, National the Pingtung University of Science and Technology. One from our NCCU, the other one come from Jiayi University. But this year, as they expand to the 16 to join the internship. Previous 2020, 2021, because the COVID-19 is a suspension 2 years. But now this year restore the internship program. So this social participation, also the global vision, global perspective, and the Taiwan youth before that, through the selection, they have the intention and the motivation for the internship to give the opportunity training, including the professional training, as well as the language, intensive training for the language learning. After that, the staffing for the overseas services. So this just mentioned the 6 months. It divides into 2 times from August to January. August just the previous start of the semester. When finish this semester in January, back to Taiwan. But give the 9 credits during the service in overseas. They still have an interaction with his or her professor through the online one. So the professor still will give that the score for the performance the second time for, this is the sector. The area in the Africa still have the Swahili, but I think it will expand to the Somalia next year. So from 8, I just mentioned, after that to increase male and female, they have the different treatment. So I give that the conclusion. They comply with the international trend. We mentioned that the SDG. When global people just pay an eye on the SDG goal, just the following have an SDG goal. So all the human capital, also the funding source, is well have make the concentration on the international trend direction one. The second one, improve the organization performance, is become more efficiency. Based on this, the consideration later on, I will give, the future perspective and promote international cooperation to ensure the world peace. That's the goal for the world peace, but never come true, impossible. It's just to say that the goal. In terms of the future perspective, based on the improve, previous have some, for instance, technical assistance, capacity building, also the lending investment. Only lending investment have to repay the money. Previous, the technical assistance or capacity building is a grant base. No return the money, grant base. Grant base, when complete this project and hand out for the local people after half of a year, all of that the result and the satisfied results disappear, corrupts, no sustainability. No sustainability. So under this connection, when, for instance, the technical assistant, the project periods about the 4 or 5 years. But now to hand out to local people after the corruption, no. Take this, the times is a well from the privatization. And to encourage that the private sector to take over for the investment. Previous, the technical assistance, that is scale quite small. Benefit for the, for instance, beneficiary maybe 300, 500. But by, the privatization for the business, not like business, the operation system, that the scale will expand to 10 times or 20 times. In other words, previous only 300 beneficiaries. Use that the private sector can increase to the 20,000 or 30,000 beneficiaries. It could be have 100 times than before. On the other hand, the market one, previous the only local market, but now it will be expand to international market. In Asia, for instance, the projects in Indonesia, in Thailand, now have the privatization, have a private company in Indonesia, and the market to Japan, Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, Dubai, and Saudi Arabia. I have a new project in Indonesia, or that the high value vegetable product is come from the vegetable projects by the technical mission, but the handout already is almost disappeared. So reorganize all that the farmer, after that expand that scale, also expand to the international market. So that the first one, the other way will be like this, the Ghana. The Ghana original, could be now in Ghana, but because previous the R.O.C with Taiwan, the mainland China given our ICDF and this organization. This organization, do this the international cooperation projects, but do not the Taiwan independent action. So the Minister Wu told me the Chinese authority have the supervise you, not supervise. They keep an eye on, attention you for many years. So you have to settle after a few days or maybe a few times to visit the Ghana. now I have a delegation in the Ghana already. All that the activity is prepared for me, but no one knows is I have such kind of this condition. So, okay, that the new trend for the international development, particularly post COVID-19, have the previously COVID-19 encountered a big challenge. For instance, economic growth down, even minus, unemployment rate, the supply chain disruption, etc., etc. The many of that the challenge. But now post-COVID-19 is also the opportunity. Is an opportunity, have to do as soon as possible. And I emphasize particular talent management for the young generation. The young still the hope for the future. So we have to create more opportunity to the young generation. The other one, the key technology, particularly post-COVID-19, have pay more, for instance, the fine technology, digital education. During the online, we have this idea, but this online is still not a very serious, still can develop well. Then the cousin of that is so well for health, digital health, and digital agriculture, etc., for future perspective. Okay, that's my presentation here. So I have 15 minutes left for your question. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Lee. That was a very engaging presentation, taking us from the very beginning of the concept of international aid, beginning from the U.S. Marshall Plan down to the Sino-American Development Aid Project, through Taiwan's eventual emergence on the international stage, carrying out international aid programs in Africa, Latin America, and other parts of the world. Now, I believe in making this presentation, Professor Lee must have raised a number of issues, perhaps controversies, that or whatever that might have triggered some kind of curiosity, and then you may want to make a comment, an intervention, ask a question. This is the time to do that. So you were all invited to participate.
Question or comment is okay. Yeah. Please. Yeah. So maybe microphone. Yeah.
I'm just curious, like each project, how long that you decide the project will be going? Because I see there are several projects in Somaliland and several, like 2 or 3 of them even ongoing projects. So how long you decide one project will be proceeding in several years?
Yeah. So there's the first of all, upon request of that the cooperating country. And based on this, the project cycle, when up to the design stage, is depend on the project character. Take example, some is the short term. This is short term. The training maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The project technical assistant project is could be between 3 to 5 years. For the scholarship, the under 4 years, PhD also 4 years, and the master 2 years. But the key point, that key points is how to decide. Just I mentioned, upon there's a request, is we are moving into the project cycle. But to tell you the truth, before the project cycle, we also have to have the diplomatic, also the diplomatic dialogue with the cooperating country. For instance, now we have the relations with the Swatini. In Swatini, we will discuss whether the priority sector, first of all, could be the agriculture, because the agriculture for Swatini, that the GDP take about more than 50%. 50%. The second one, the tourism site. After that, so this will be have the important one. So from that, the dialogue to decide the first one for the agricultural cooperation. The second one, because that the quality manpower are still very important, so that's why I have the technical and vocational training for the Eswatini. The last one, and in terms of that the public health and the medical services. So before the project cycle, the between two countries have the consensus about the country operation strategy or country priority strategies one. So they decided the three sectors. When that the Eswatini have same this idea, is a way to submit there's a relevant of the project. When receive these three field of that's the project and moving into the project cycle. The project cycle. But take example is still depend on that the technical assistance. When I lead, the assessment mission to the Swatini or Somaliland, maybe it's 3 weeks. 3 weeks discuss with the key person, stakeholder. Key person I mentioned that for the minister or the government officer, as well as the stakeholder, the other stakeholder or the local government, also the local NGO or local organization, community-based organization, and that the beneficiary enterprises or the farmers, and so on. So through this discussion, maybe is only that the 3 weeks for the assessment, and then return, including that the identification, preparation, and that the assessment, after that to appraisal. That's the appraisal from the upon request to the proposal formation take about 8 months. 8 months in general. That's for the technical assistance. But in terms of the lending and the investment, is have to depend on in ICDF is near about 18 months for the loan project. I refer to other organizations, for instance, the World Bank. The World Bank, they have the projects, for instance, that the infrastructure, that the electricity, general electricity in the Paraguay, Iguazu, that the projects, the period can up to total 50 years of the loan program, 50 years. But in terms of that, the assessment years, 10 years. So it's so far as I know, that the longer of that period for the assessment even that the project duration. Okay, please.
Okay, I have a question because Professor touched on the Pelosi visit, and I would like to ask
Okay. I would like to ask if it significantly slowed down the projects of ICDF, the visit of Pelosi.
Slow down.
Yes, slowed down.
Slow down. Why have they slowed down about the project?
Yes, if it has impacted or not.
Yeah. That the it's still like the project cycle. During that the design stage, we were based on that there's a risk or assumption. Risk or assumption have to put all the elements for assessment. In other words, it's quite all have the plan A, plan B, or plan C. Then when to decide for the plan A decide for this one. And into the implementation. When to enter the implementation, you find out could we have assumption change. For instance, new government. The new government, so that the election have a new government. Depend on that the new government. Some government was I totally refuse previous cooperation between Taiwan and the previous government. We disagree thus. We have to restore discussion about new projects. So under this one is 100%. 100%. The almost to have a kick out of thus the projects. Some government could be the more reasonable. Is will check the ongoing projects. Maybe project one can help. Have the same idea. Or remaining two projects will same route. We don't like that one. So that the two have to to restart for discussion. I think the answer is to touch your point.
Yes, it has.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. There's the new government, but also the local environment, particularly conflict, also the nature disaster. Have the environment change already. Yeah, to have this phenomenon. Yeah, please. Sorry.
How do you plan to conduct your development into certain area, like into, for example, like
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Yeah. Good question. the
I
barrier.
want to know how.
The Taiwan encounter, only that the political part, for instance, that the Chinese issue, China issue, China principle, one China principle. Some partner country very care about the one China policy. It could be have the big barrier. One. The second one, talk about the sustainability. The sustainability, some program or project is the high, also have the skillful. Skillful, if the local people cannot do the full skill of the training, sometimes it's very difficult to take over that project. So that's why, have this occasion, that after taking over, will be corrupt. These are the, in other words, that the non-sustainability is also the big barrier. The number 4, that barrier comes from the corruption. The corruption is the sometimes severely. So everything you have to prepare annual for the money after that, no action proceeds. So they have this idea about the corruption. But this corruption, not only that they just mentioned the minor, that they are small about the things for, that the officer. But in general, this corruption is the group one. Is a more detail for that the country development. It could be the culture, but this culture not shorten for improvement. You have to take some time, step by step, to improve this situation. Yeah, not easy, not very easy. Yeah. Okay, please.
All right, so my question is, whenever it's time to do preliminary observations or like preliminary assessments of like to decide what a target country needs and what issues they need resolved, how exactly are those preliminary assessments conducted?
Yes, it's a very professional term. That's the preliminary study. Because of my time limitation, so I had to jump. During that the identification, could we have the first particular that the long project have the preliminary study. This preliminary study, maybe it can document reference or the organize that the preliminary the study group to the cooperating country to identify is feasible or not. This preliminary study. When finally it could be feasible, okay, to move into the preparation. During this preparation, we have the make the second to give the terms of feasibility study. This feasibility study is a very important one. In other words, have put together many information. For instance, the technical part, financial part, the economic part, social part, and the others. Others have the combination that the possibility for the very detail of that possibility. That's a feasibility study. Under this two stage of the preliminary study and a feasibility study, is a project successful can achieve more than 80%. If this project without feasibility study, very dangerous. I only can say that's a very, very dangerous one. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Professor Lee, could I ask a few questions of mine?
Yeah.
One, your program has it works in alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and I'm wondering whether it also is organically integrated into what the United Nations is doing, in the light of the fact that Taiwan has a very limited diplomatic space international, given the constant hostility from the People's Republic of China. Then that's one. Then secondly, I noticed that, like you mentioned, the issue of corruption, and then I also see that most of the programs that you do in these countries are usually top down, in the sense that they're determined from the government. I'm also wondering whether you have, in ICDF, whether you've thought about also going down up, in the sense of working with civil society rather than the public sector. And then there's something that I find that is perhaps somewhat missing from your presentation, and that is, how does Taiwan actually reap some benefits from these international aid programs, or is it just entirely a charitable scheme without any sort of benefit also accruing to Taiwan?
Okay, that's the question. 4 questions last. The first one, for the SDG, that's the SDG. Taiwan is not the member country of the UN. But Taiwan, for me, I have the free to organize the activity mission to New York to join the high level political forum, HLPF. I will take this advantage of that HLPF, but the HLPF that the UN, the high level related SDG implementation. Those member countries will to take advantage of make the voluntary national report based on their SDG implementation progress. But we cannot enter into the main meeting rooms. But I will to conduct the side event, the neighboring about the hotel or the conference rooms of the side event to invite our diplomatic airline or the same idea of a non-diplomatic to join to hold such kind of the side event one. On the other hand, I also will take advantage of occasion to put together all that the contribution and the efforts from the different ministry. For instance, come from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, from the Ministry of Economic Affairs, also the EPI from the Ministry of Environment, and the university or local government, put all of that the source into the Taiwan of SDG report, and will publish to the local newspaper or the local media. So this since the 2016, 2017, 18, 19, even up to now, maybe the 2020, 2021, because of COVID, we still use the online session about that the SDG implementation. Secondly, in terms of the China issue, this because of the rise of China in year 2008. Now it's become the second, the ranking number 2 of the economic scale. Now it's going very powerful. Before 2008, we still have the competition capability with China. After that, no way, no way. So under this one, we have to take into account 2. One is the China is the hard power. I always say we use the soft power. The soft power for for that the capacity building for our cooperating country. The other one, we have to join. There's a possibility also collab with the international organization or international NGO. Based on that co-funding source, still have the visibility of Taiwan in the international arena. So such kind of relationship try to escape that the pressure come from that the mainland China. The number 3, number 4, the number 3 didn't come. The number 3 is for Taiwan. That is the benefit for Taiwan. I have to say from my presentation, the early about the 1960 or before 1971, we have a mission to consolidation of a UN seat. UN at that time, Taiwan still the member of the United Nations, and after 1971 because the Article 2873 to have resolve the United Nations. After that, we encounter many difficult, for instance, cannot to join that the specialized organization of a UN, also the international conference, cannot to join us. But we still try to, no condition to consolidate relations with diplomatic airlines. On the other hand, for our generation, we still to select, also create that opportunity that our young generation can go abroad for the cultivation, also the training opportunity to join the international arena. So these are the second about the benefit for and that was talent management for the young generation. Sorry, the third question I forgot.
Yeah, I was also asking about how you determine, apart from the top bottom, do you also work with civil society or people at the grassroots level to determine what projects are going to be executed in specific locations?
Yeah, that's the we still the bottom up base. It's a very rare use that the top down base, the bottom, so that the the project cycle is based on that the bottoms up, and the will return to that the all that the project cycle. But such kind of the mechanism still quite very reasonable for the bottom up. Is can review, also can understand what is the the real needs for the local people. So bottom up, still that the international trend one. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Any further questions from the audience? Okay, in the absence of that, please could we give a final round of applause for Professor Lee?